Yeah, what's good guys? This is Nightwing2303 from WearTesters.com. We've got another performance review. Today is on the Kobe 11. So with that being said, let's go ahead, get right into it. So the traction on the Kobe 11, to sum it up in one word, basically they're inconsistent. These guys gripped quartz that I normally have issues with, and then they didn't grip quartz that I tend to not have issues with. Dust was also a big problem as well. These little flat nubs right here are pretty much dust collectors. So any little tidbits of dust, even the finest little particles, will get covered all over this guy right here, causing you to need to wipe constantly. I believe that these are going to be an issue even still if you have that solid rubber outsole, just because it's not changing the pattern itself, and this pattern just seems to be very susceptible to dust. So solid, translucent, this is going to get clogged up. Make sure you maintain wipes. This little spine section that runs along the shoe, that was the only consistent portion of these guys right here, and the more force that you put down, the better this grips or bites the floor. So the traction on the Kobe 11, very inconsistent. I would say that it's a slight step behind the Kobe 10, the best being the Kobe 9 obviously, and that's just my experience with it. If you've had a different experience, please let me know in the comment section, because I've heard all kinds of different things. I've heard great things about it, I've heard bad things about it. I don't hate the traction, it's not the worst I've ever had, but I've definitely had way better than this. Now as far as the cushion, we're back to drop-in midsoles, just like the Kobe 7, 8, and 9, and out of all of them that I've used, this is by far the most comfortable one. So as you can see, it's full-length lunar, and this does a great job of providing low profile impact protection while still retaining mobility and court feel. You've also got this very large volume zoom unit right in the heel. This does exactly the same thing, provides low profile impact protection while still providing some court feel. So this is a good guard setup right here, and I enjoyed the little flex grooves that are inspired by the Nike Free. Just made everything feel really nice underfoot. Now if I am going to get a little bit nitpicky, I'm not a huge fan of the kind of like combo setup. I do not like having the zoom unit such like large volume in the heel, especially being bottom loaded. I always feel like I've been kind of like sinking into the shoe. It doesn't feel as consistent, I guess. I've always felt that about this type of setup. I did not like it when they did that with the Kobe 7 as well. I don't like having my heel kind of sink into the footbed or into the midsole. So what I personally prefer is either full-on lunar or full-on zoom. You can get either of those setups. Unfortunately though, they're only available on Nike ID, and that's like a huge price increase compared to the already expensive $200 that the shoe retails for. Are these other options going to be available at retail with different colorways? I couldn't tell you. I wish that I knew, but right now I have no idea. They haven't mentioned whether they are or aren't, so anything's up in the air right now. But hopefully they do that soon. I do wish though that they would go back to what they did with the Kobe 8, where they did sell the midsole separately on Nike ID, along with allowing you to choose which option you wanted with your ID purchase. So they kind of gave you two options. You can ID your shoe and then choose whatever cushion, and they also had the midsoles sold separately. As far as which midsole I'd prefer, like I said earlier, I would go with either full lunar or full zoom. It just kind of depends on how I'd feel that day. The zoom's going to give you greater impact protection while still maintaining court feel, whereas the lunar is going to be a little bit lighter weight, still giving you a little bit of impact protection. It's going to be a little bit more fluid in transition as well. Both options are really great. I'm just personally not a fan of this kind of combo setup. Now as far as the materials, we do have Flyknit all over the shoe, and this time around it's almost implemented perfectly. Well, it's not 100% raw Flyknit or just straight up Flyknit. So instead of using fuse or glue, they use these TPU strands throughout the entire upper, or what I like to call fishing line. And this provides all the flexibility that you'd normally get from Flyknit, but it still provides a whole lot of structure and a ton of support. Now there are pros and cons to doing this type of setup, and in my opinion the pros do outweigh the cons. The pros is that there's less stretch, more structure, and with more structure comes more support, and the durability is increased as well. As far as the cons, you kind of lose that one-to-one fit that normal Flyknit typically offers, like what they use in the runners, because of the fact that the TPU strands are so structured within the actual knit. So what I mean by that is that these guys run all the way across, just like that, from the toe all the way up to the heel, and it basically acts like a roll cage. So it's a big frame throughout the entire shoe, and then they have Flyknit woven throughout that. So that basically creates an entire shape of the shoe, and if your foot doesn't fit that shape, that kind of is a bummer. From the midfoot back it's perfectly cool, but in the front it just has a little bit of dead space. What I would have liked to have seen Nike do is just kind of implement the TPU strands a little bit more strategically. What they seem to have kind of done is just been like, oh, Flyknit is kind of weak for basketball movements, so we're going to put it all over the place. And what they should have done is kind of implemented it in certain sections that are high wear areas and key stretch zones. That way it would be basically like fine-tuned for basketball. So right here, I would have liked to have seen TPU strands, maybe right up at the toe, but all of this area right here should have been free of all of that plastic. And like I said earlier, the midfoot was perfectly fine, so having that reinforced with TPU is not a big deal. This area moves with your foot perfectly. It's mostly the issue in the toe, where the toe just feels kind of bubbled away from your foot. As far as their fit, they fit true to size, but like I said earlier, there's a little bit of dead space in that toe due to the TPU strands. I don't think it's a big enough deal to go down half a size, but try them on if possible, just to make sure that you're getting the correct size for you. Other than that, I didn't really have an issue with the fit. I thought that the lockdown was great. Midfoot back all the way to the heel, perfect. This puffy tongue is amazing. When you tie these things up, it just feels really great. It feels almost like memory foam. As far as support is concerned, that mostly comes from the fit, and because the upper is reinforced with TPU, you get plenty of it. There's also an internal heel counter, which works really great. The shoes sit ultra low to the ground, and then that bottom is super flat, so you got plenty of stability right there, and it just enhances your natural ability to stabilize yourself. Then you also have these two giant outriggers right here, just in case you need some bumper support on lateral movements. This shoe fits and supports so well that if you had your eyes closed and you just had no feeling on your legs, you would not know the difference between this and any other like really well supported high top or mid top shoe on the market, guaranteed. So overall, I really dig the Kobe 11. The only thing that I don't like is the traction. It's just a little bit too inconsistent for me. Some days they were really good, some days they totally weren't. And it's one of those things where you kind of take them out for a spin and you don't know quite what you're gonna get. Whereas with the Kobe 9, you took those out and you knew right away that that shoe was gonna grip you to the floor perfectly, no matter what court you were playing on, what the condition might have been. That shoe had you covered 100%. If these guys had the Kobe 9 bottom, that would be awesome. But other than that, the shoe was super fun to play in, so I would recommend them if you know that you play on pristine courts. If you play on a court with even the littlest amount of dust, you've been warned, these might be ice skates instead of basketball shoes. So that pretty much takes care of everything. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all your support. If you want to know more information, a lot more detail, including their scores and weight, are going to be at WearTesters.com. Link is in the description box below. Also, if you have played in this shoe, please let me know what you guys think about them. Did you love them? Did you hate them? Did you like the traction? Did you dislike the traction? Cushion, was it amazing? Do you love the TPU reinforced Flyknit? Let me know. I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you guys again, and until next time guys, have a good one.